You picked up your phone to do one thing, check the time, answer one message, see if anyone texted. That was, 20 minutes ago? Maybe an hour. You're not even sure. Your thumb just kept going, all on its own, and you surfaced somewhere 3 unrelated topics away, holding a rectangle you don't remember deciding to keep holding. And you've probably filed that under, I have no self-control. You tell yourself you're addicted, weak, rotting your own attention span for fun, so you delete the app and you reinstall it Tuesday. Here's the thing. That reflex isn't a character flaw. It's not even really about you. You're up against a machine that was engineered, deliberately, by people who've since apologized for it, to be exactly this hard to put down. By the end of this, you'll know precisely how it works, why just use more willpower was never going to win, and, the part nobody selling you a dopamine detox wants to admit, how much of the panic around this is actually overblown. The story you've been handed is a discipline story. You scroll too much because you're weak, and the fix is to want it less, more willpower, a stricter rule, an app that locks your other apps. So you try, and it works for about a day and a half. That should tell you something. Because if scrolling were really a willpower problem, willpower tools would fix it. They mostly don't. You weren't confused about what you wanted to do. You wanted to stop. You picked up the phone anyway. That's not a discipline failure. That's a behavior running on rails you didn't lay. Here's the rail. Your phone doesn't reward you every time you check it. It rewards you sometimes, and you can't predict which time. Most pulls to refresh give you nothing. Then one gives you a message, a like, something genuinely good, unpredictable payoff on an unpredictable schedule. Psychologists have known since the 1950s that this exact pattern, reward after a random number of tries, produces more behavior held longer than any other. It's the schedule that runs slot machines. A predictable reward gets boring. An unpredictable one you'll chase for hours. And there's a reason it grips so hard. The chemical everyone blames, dopamine, turns out not to be the pleasure chemical at all. Dopamine tracks surprise. It spikes for a reward you didn't see coming and goes quiet for one you did. Which means the most potent thing you can build isn't something enjoyable. It's something uncertain. A feed you can't predict is, chemically, almost perfect. Here's the cruel twist. Dopamine drives wanting, not liking, and the two come apart. You can compulsively want something you no longer enjoy. That's the scroll you don't even like. You're not having fun. You're just still wanting. The machine stopped needing to please you a long time ago. Now, you could hear all that and think, fine, but I'm still the one holding the phone. So, let me tell you who else was in the room when it was designed. A creator of the infinite scroll, the bottomless feed with no next page button, has publicly said he regrets it because he removed the one natural moment where you'd otherwise pause and decide to stop. A former Google design ethicist describes pulling to refresh as playing a slot machine and says the industry sprinkles those unpredictable rewards everywhere because it's good for business. Facebook's own founding president said the quiet part out loud. The goal was to consume as much of your time and attention as possible, giving you a little dopamine hit to build a social validation feedback loop. In his words, exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. This isn't conspiracy. It's a documented method. There's an academic model, motivation, ability, and a well-timed prompt that designers use to engineer habits, and a best-selling playbook that turns it into 4 steps: trigger, action, variable reward, investment. Even the streaming boss said it plainly. We compete with sleep, and we're winning. So when you lose an hour, understand what you lost it to. Not a lack of grit, a product tuned by professionals, aimed at the oldest reward circuit you own. And this is why the willpower advice is worse than useless. It points the gun at the wrong target. Start with how behavior actually works. Roughly 43% of what people do isn't decided fresh each time. It's repeated almost daily in the same place, triggered by the context around them. Habits don't wait for your permission. The couch, the evening, the phone in your hand, that's the cue, and the reach is automatic before "should I though" ever loads. Now the part that rewrites the whole self-help aisle. People with the most self-control don't win more willpower battles. They have fewer of them. Studies that follow people through their day find the high self-control ones mostly succeed by staying out of tempting situations in the first place. Less resistance, not more muscle. Willpower isn't a bicep, and the famous idea that it's a fuel tank you drain, it failed a massive pre-registered replication across 23 labs. The effect came out essentially zero. So, just resist harder is advice built on science that didn't hold up, aimed at a behavior that was automated on purpose. You were set up to lose that fight, and then blamed for losing it. Here's where I have to argue against my own video, because the internet will happily take everything I just said and turn it into a panic. Your phone is rewiring your brain. Screens are destroying a generation. You need a 30-day dopamine fast. Slow down. When researchers ran the numbers across more than 300,000 teenagers, digital technology use explained, at most, about 0.4% of the difference in their well-being. For scale, in that same data, wearing glasses was more negatively associated with well-being than screens. So was eating potatoes. That's the honest population picture, and it is not a catastrophe. Social media addiction isn't even a recognized diagnosis. The only behavioral addiction the manual lists is gambling. And the dopamine detox you keep getting sold? Dopamine isn't a toxin you flush. You can't fast from your own neurotransmitter. Taking a break can genuinely help, but through boring old habit change, not a chemical reset. So hold both of these at once, because both are true. The pull is engineered and real and built on how reward learning actually works. And it is not frying your brain. It's a design problem meeting a normal brain, not a disease and not a moral failing. Which is the whole point, and it was never really about your phone. You are not weak. You're running the same reward machinery every human runs. The wanting, the surprise, the automatic reach for the cue in your hand. And someone studied that machinery on purpose and built a product to fit it like a key fits a lock. Of course, you can't out-discipline that. It was designed by people whose job was to make discipline irrelevant. Knowing that doesn't magically free your thumb, but it moves the shame off of you where it never belonged and onto the design where it does. And it points you at the only thing that actually works. Not willpower, but changing the cue. The phone in the other room, the app off the home screen, the friction they spent 20 years removing, put back by hand. So the next time you surface from an hour you didn't mean to spend, try dropping the word weak. You didn't lose a fight with yourself. You lost a fight with a machine that learned exactly how you learn. And the only way to win it is to stop playing on its board.